How do Americans really know what's happening anymore? In the beginning, it was the news via a newspaper, where the audience would know and presumably trust their source, whatever publication they subscribed to. Then, when the radio came out, fireside chats were hosted by FDR to make sense of the latest news. When the television came out, everyone was forced to watch the news when it came on the air because not all the time slots are filled with programming. Receiving your news was simple, but the world has changed, and those time periods were before the internet. Now, the United States has entered a new age of technology where anyone can say anything. False information can now spread and become viral at an unprecedented rate. There is so much news, and now Americans are left to sift through the information overload, and they ask, who and what can I trust?
And because everything on a news feed on Twitter and Facebook is prioritized equally, the cat photos next to the breaking news, it all looks the same.
This is dangerous.
Yes, there's no question. I think this is really one of the great existential challenges of our time. I mean, we're at an inflection point, I think, really whether facts will continue to matter.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Not convinced? That clip that was just shown. You know who that is, right? Former President Barack Obama? Well, it wasn't. It was actually deepfake animation of actor-director Jordan Peele. You wouldn't have known that if you weren't told, though. Right? Confusing and disorienting. Right? Hurt your brain, doesn't it? This is what it's like to be online in this day and age. Americans feel lost in the mess, and it's not crazy to say that the internet can be such an overwhelming political place that consumers may decide to just check out.
We're seeing a level, I think, of anger and alienation and mistrust of institutions, whether it be the government or science or the media.
This is detrimental for the way our country runs, as democracy foremost needs to have people willing to participate before it can even think about having participants who are educated. In a 2016 poll by Pew Research Center, 88% of Americans from all across demographics said that fake news has caused a great deal or some confusion about the basic facts of current events. This is how Americans feel when logging in every day. So, the question now is, how do we make the internet less overwhelming? Of course, we can start with the individual American, in which some strategies include always reading the article through to avoid misleading headlines, checking the publisher, checking if other sources are corroborating the same information, and you can check fact-checking websites, and above all, you should refrain from sharing information until you know its accuracy.
And it's just, it's absolutely vital. As participants in democracy, that we check our facts before we go to the polls.
All of these things can help make the internet world more user-friendly, but more needs to be done, and we can't rely on collective individuals to make this shift. Some say that it's the job of the journalists and the companies that platform this information to make sure that the people's news is correct.
It's in the hands of these companies, no question, to do most of the heavy lifting. And again, they need to spend the money to do so. They're making all this other money over here. And they don't dedicate the resources they need to and that's why their stock is so good, because they don't have costs, which includes the cost of doing their job.
Journalists need to double down on verification, on accuracy, on transparency and accountability. They need to tell the truth. They need to call out lies. They need to avoid false balance. And I think moving forward, they should be covering the Biden administration in a way that is tough but fair.
There is another way Americans have found ways to make sense of the world. Made possible by the internet's ever-personal customizability, Americans are coping with the chaos by making spaces that are essentially bubbles or echo chambers online where the information, real and fake, tends to align with what they already believe in, and their mutuals and trustees online tend to regurgitate what they already agree with.
I think that there's been a level of disconnection to government and civic institutions that have left people prone to looking for easy answers that give them a sense of belonging, often with a sense of the enemy as being the other, and then a reinforcing mechanism through social media, where people are able to plug into others who have similar beliefs.
And while Americans have always been quite narrow, closed-mindedness at such a high level is, once again, dangerous.
Social media has had the opposite effect. Internet brought everybody together, and social media has pushed everybody apart in their own directions, in their own preference bubbles.
And with this information, there is a chance that this very issue can lead us to our solution. Amidst all the noise, there are real viewpoints to be heard, and perhaps this is what American democracy needs in our polarized world. We, as a country, cannot allow ourselves to be too comfortable in our beliefs. It is just not sustainable.
And I think this is really, the greatest challenge here for democracy moving forward is whether we can find common ground based on evidence-based, fact-based information to move forward as a country.
We must be challenged in our beliefs and continue to open our minds. It is an incredibly ironic thing that we have the whole world at our hands and still continue to live in our little bubbles. America is heading towards its breaking point, and maybe a little broadening is what we need.